Hi, I'm Rob D'Alessio with Strategic Wealth Designers, and this is A Taste of Retirement. Today we're going to do Triple Crown Chicken, an amazing dish that's a blast from the past from my old restaurant days. And we're going to pair it with green bean bundles and roasted fingerling potatoes. Let's get started. First, we're going to start with the fingerling potatoes and the green bean bundles. And so fingerling potatoes, they're named for what they are because they resemble fingers. But what you want to do is you want to slice them long ways. And you don't want to do this too early because potatoes, they can actually brown up on you if you let them sit out in the air too long. So just slice them long ways. And then what we're going to do is we're going to toss them with some olive oil, some kosher salt, and some black pepper. Now, the thing about olive oil is I like to use extra virgin olive oil, and I like to use a very, very good brand. My preference is California brand, but you can Google different brands, but there'll definitely be all kinds of lists of like what are really, really good olive oils and what are not so good olive oils. And with one of these things, and with you cooking, you definitely want to get the best olive oil that you can buy. So you just want to coat lightly, and we're going to toss them a little bit. And then you take some fresh rosemary, and what you do is you take the sprig and you go against the grain, and it'll actually take them off of the stem for you. Just like this. And then what you want to do is you want to chop it up, and you want to leave as little of the stem as possible because obviously it's got a real woody taste to it, and that won't taste any good. And rosemary, a little bit goes a long way. So we'll do pepper. Kosher salt. And then we'll do the rosemary. And you just want to mix it around a little bit just so you can get a nice light coat on all of the potatoes. And then what we're going to do is put it in the oven. So what you want to do is you want to have your oven preheated to 375 degrees. We've got the potatoes all ready to go in, and they're going to go in for about 35 minutes. After 20 minutes, you want to check them and you want to stir them around a little bit, loosen them up. And then at 35, if they're brown the way you like them, you take them out. If they're not, you leave them in longer. It's not an exact science. Next, we're going to do the green bean bundles. They're really fun to make, and they look really, really cool, and they taste delicious. But let's talk about the Triple Crown, the pinnacle of horse racing. It's one of the hardest achievements there are in sports. And can you believe that this year it may not run at all, or might not even have any fans? Nobody ever even saw that coming. You know, a few weeks back, 6 weeks back, we were at 29,000 points in the Dow. Nobody ever saw this coming. Would you know that you could have a safety net underneath your portfolio to protect yourself in case scenarios like this happen? To talk more about that, you can email me at info@swdgroup.com. Now, let's go back to this trifecta. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the green beans, and you want to buy fresh green beans. That is very, very important. And they're very inexpensive this time of year. But I like to line them up end to end as well as you can. It's not an exact science, but you just want to clip off the ends. Nobody wants to eat those. They're really stringy. And actually, when I grew up, my mom, she always called them string beans, and I never knew why. And if you actually pop the ends off, sometimes they'll pull a string out, and that's where string beans came from. But so you clip off one end, and then you want to line up the other end, and you want to do the same exact thing there. You want to leave as much of the bean as you can, but you push those to the side, And then you want to buy a thick cut bacon. We always talk about thick cut bacon. And Applewood smoked bacon just happens to be my very favorite. And so what we do here is you just grab a bunch, just kind of like a group of sticks. And then you want to overlap them. And wrap them up. And then place them in the pan. And then we're going to do that another time, maybe 2 other times. And so green bean bundles, you know, I do a lot of cooking for my in-laws, and I'm always trying to look for something creative. They've got a few friends of theirs that are amazing cooks, and so I always try to do my best to kind of show them that I know what I'm doing and that I make the best dishes. And so I just started to get creative. You know, people have done a lot of green bean wrapped dishes before, even wrapping fillets. And I thought to myself, I needed a green veg, but I needed to be really, really good. And so finally I just came up with that you have green beans and bacon, and then we're gonna add some salt and some pepper. I mean, what could go wrong with that? So we've got those wrapped up. The last thing that we're gonna do is just season a little bit with pepper and with salt, and then they're gonna go in the oven, and they're also gonna go in at 375 degrees. Difference is here, there's no exact time. All we're gonna do is put them in the oven until the bacon's finished. And we're gonna rotate them a couple times. And then once the bacon's crispy, the green beans will be cooked perfectly, and then we'll be ready to go. You don't wanna do too much salt though, because obviously everybody knows bacon's pretty salty as it is, and you can always add more salt to it later. You can't take it away. All right, so we're gonna go in the oven now. Next, we're gonna do the grilled chicken, and we'll obviously go outside to do that. But sometimes you hear people say they like restaurant grilled chicken better than the grilled chicken that they can have at home. There's multiple reasons why. Most of the time, restaurants are buying portion-sized chicken breasts, and they're actually pretty even from the thick side or the top of the breast to the bottom side. You know, when you're at the grocery store, you don't want to buy the biggest chicken breast they have. I know that they're less expensive, but you want to buy some that are uniform in size. That way they'll cook the same way. The other thing that I always do is I marinate them at least overnight in Italian dressing. Now, it doesn't matter the brand, it doesn't matter the kind, but you marinate it overnight in Italian dressing, and it's just gonna make it much more tender and much more juicy when you go to grill it. All right, let's go do it. All right, so I know they're boneless, skinless chicken breasts, but I always like to put what was the skin side down first. And I like to put it at an angle of the grill because I love a good grill pattern. And you want to make sure you have a nice hot grill, as hot as it can get. And you want to use direct heat. And then what we're going to do, we're going to turn them. And then you'll have the nice grill marks, and then we'll flip them and finish them up. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to flip it. And we should have some nice grill marks on the top side. And then we're gonna cover it with Monterey Jack cheese. And I wanna get this cheese nice and melted. And we're only gonna go a couple minutes this way. We're gonna cover the grill, let that cheese get melty, and then we're gonna take them off. And the thing about it is, you don't wanna worry too much about undercooking the chicken more so than overcooking the chicken. And the reason why is because you don't want to get in here and cut it and see if it's done. When you go inside and if it's not done as much as you'd like it to, you can always bring it up. You can't bring it back the other way. So all we're going to do at this point is get some heat on the other side, melt that cheese down, and then we're going to finish it with some grated cheddar cheese. But I don't want to melt it on here. It just gives it a different flavor profile, and I love it. All right, so the cheese is melted and looks really, really happy. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it off the grill. And then, like I said before, we want to cover it with the shredded cheddar cheese. So like I said before, I don't want to melt the cheddar. I want to just put the shredded cheddar on there. It's a completely different flavor profile. And some of it will melt, and that's okay. But what we're going to do is we're going to go inside and we're going to top it with the green onions and the tomatoes, and we're going to wrap a bow on this. All right, so we took the chicken off the grill. The cheddar started to melt a little bit, which is okay, and all we're gonna do now is just garnish it. And we're gonna garnish it with some diced vine-ripened tomatoes. Those are the best. And listen, if you don't like tomatoes, you don't have to eat it. I'm just telling you, it's better that way. And then what I did is I took some green onions and I chopped them on the bias. And we've talked about it before, chopping it on the bias is basically just cutting it at an angle. Gives you a little bit more surface coverage, just a better presentation. But what we'll do is we'll take some of the potatoes, and hopefully you've got a nice golden brown on them. And then take the chicken breasts. And I always like to make the plate appearance look as nice as possible. And then what you do is you do the green bean bundle. And there you have it, Triple Crown Chicken. If you have any questions about this recipe or any of our other recipes, email me at info@swdgroup.com. I'm Rob D'Alessio, and this is A Taste of Retirement.